the next thing is about Kubernetes job. So I think I told you that we can now run jobs in Kubernetes on the different platforms. My example here is with OpenShift, because OpenShift is the platform which is highly used by our customers. So there are many of our banking insurance customers are using OpenShift. However, we have also customers on other Kubernetes platforms. So with this task, you can run all the workloads on OpenShift in a container, so in a pod, so in the Kubernetes pod. You can monitor the pod, you can query the container log files, because an OpenShift job can start a pod, and the pod can have multiple containers, and each container can have their own log files. So what our task allows to retrieve all the log files from the containers which have been started by the pod. You can deploy the job YAML, so that's how you deploy a job in Kubernetes, via the Universal Controller script library, via local file, but you can also deploy it directly from a GitHub repository. I think that's also a very nice feature. And we support all the different authentication, like basic authentication, session token, and web console authentication. In production, I think customers always use web console authentication. Basic authentication, session is more for testing. So that basically uses web console token is based on a service account. When you deploy to run these jobs, you need to call them from our Universal Agent, and you can install the Universal Agent on a server outside your OpenShift clusters. This is a solution which most of the customers are using. So like this, you can run jobs in different clusters, all triggered from the same Universal Agent. You can, instead of just running jobs, you can also run any OCCLI command, meaning any kubectl command also. All from the same Universal Agent. You don't need to install any OCCLI, because that's part of the Universal Agent. So the Universal Agent will download, or the extension which you install will download the OCCLI to the Universal Agent. So this is the situation when you have multiple clusters, you want to run them from a central point. You can also run the task inside a pod. So you can install an agent pod in your project and then run it from there. The problem with this solution is that you can only run jobs in the cluster where the Universal Agent is installed, because it's too difficult to create a route between the different clusters. So this is something which you could also consider. However, the customers use mainly this solution. Okay, now let me do a quick demo how you can start an OpenShift job. So for this, I've installed an OpenShift system. And yeah, let me give you an example how to run these jobs. So first of all, I have my task here. 1 second. Just need to open it that you can better see it. So an OpenShift job task is very simple. So you just choose your action, for example, run the job or delete the job. You select your project, you run a job in a project or namespace, how it's called in Kubernetes. You provide the URL, which you want to connect to. The login methods, I said you have the different login methods. In this case, I've used a web console token. So the service account login method. Then you say, in this case, I want to run the job based on a job definition in the script library. So this is a job definitions in Kubernetes. So it looks always the same. So it has always the specs, how to handle the job. And then it has basically here the container, which is started. In this case, I'm starting a container called P, and I'm calculating P 20 digits after the comma. So that's just a simple Perl command, which I run in this container. Of course, this is just an example which I want to show. Then you can define if you want to include all the container logs in the output, or if you only want to get them in case of failure, because they can get very long and you might only want to get them in case of failure. In OpenShift, there's one special thing, or in Kubernetes generally. So when you run a job with the same name again, it's not possible. So each job has to have their own unique name. So this is why after the job execution, you can delete the job. So this is why you have the delete job after completion command here. I will not check it now because I want to show you that the job really is in the system. So I launch this job now. It's cute. So it's running now. So if I go now to my OpenShift environment, so this is the OpenShift console. I'm logged into my project called SB Batch, because maybe you saw the job runs SB Batch. I go to the job task, and you see the job is already running, called pfinance 001, and is already completed. So if I go now back to my Universal controller, it takes always a bit longer because it fetches now all the log files, and this sometimes takes a bit longer because it needs to connect to the container and so on. So let's wait a bit. So it will for sure come. So now it's successful. Now if you go to the output, then you can see here, this is that the job has been started on this project. This is a job that has been created, and you have the container logs, because I had two containers. One is the P container, which I told you with the 20 commas, and I have another container started where I just print out a log message because I want to show you that you can start multiple container and retrieve the log files. Everything is also available as JSON output, because that's very nice if you want to process the output in a workflow. So then you have this nice JSON output with the same information. Okay, as you can see, the job is still there, so I could not run it again. So now I can also delete an OpenShift job. So I can go to the delete job. And when you want to delete a job, the task is the same. So you have the same connection parameter as before. And you can say query now, first of all the jobs which are in the system. So I just say submit. So it connects to your OpenShift platform and it provides you all the jobs. I put here P star because I know mine begins with P star. So it's a bit easier to find it. There you see the job. And now I could save this and delete the job. So what I want to show you here, you can dynamically query the OpenShift for the job names and then delete the jobs. So if I go back to my OpenShift, you see the job is gone. Yeah, instead of doing this, you can also start directly the job with this parameter, delete the job. Now I want to show you a more sophisticated use case. So a workflow. So in this case, what I'm doing, as soon as I check in some job definition or job deployment into my GitHub repository, I will start to run this job. So I'm doing this with a webhook monitor. This is my webhook monitor. This webhook monitor, when I open it, you see how it works. So this webhook monitor monitors for push events of type OpenShift. So as soon as I put something into my GitHub repository, I receive the webhook event and I will start the job. And this job is then, and that's then the job which is then started. And this job will dynamically pull the latest job definition from GitHub. Of course, the Git credential is not visible, and usually I'm connected with the token, so that's all in credentials. So everything is secure. So let me launch this workflow. I go to my activity monitor. So there it is. Okay. So now I go to my GitHub. Maybe I make it like this, and it's a bit. Oh no, that's also not a good idea. So so I will go to my job definition file and then edit it. So maybe it's a very simple sleep job. So instead of maybe 15 seconds, I put 10 seconds sleep. The name is also 10 seconds. And yeah, and then sleeps for 10 seconds. So now I will commit the changes. And I go back to Universal Automation. You see it immediately there. It immediately is successful. So that's the nice thing with webhooks. It's really everything is in real time. So now I'm started pulling this job in real time, the jobs in real time from GitHub and running this job. So this is how you can integrate your jobs with GitHub. Of course, you can also use other tools in GitHub. It's the example is just with GitHub because that was easy for me to implement with the webhook monitor. Yeah, the job is started. Let me just go to the thing. I think it's already deleted, so it's already finished. So it was because this one was started now with. I can show you. If you look at it, this one was started with delete job after completion.